What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Retro Review. I am the Bearded Geek. Joining me, as always, is Mikey the Freak and Bebo. All right, today we are going to be discussing the 88? Yes, 1988 movie Willow, directed by Ron Howard, writers George Lucas doing the story, and Bob Dolman doing screenplay, starring Val Kilmer, Joanne Whalley, and Warwick Davis. Brian, why don't you tell us about this movie, man?
So to basically take it down to its bare bones, it's basically a young farmer basically chosen to undertake a perilous journey in order to protect a special baby from an evil queen who's reigning over the lands. Baby's supposed to basically save the world, and Willow, who's played by Warwick Davis, is going to be the one that's supposed to kind of save the baby and take it to where it needs to go. Val Kilmer plays a kind of a rogue bandit type person, but he's supposed to be the greatest swordsman that ever lived, in his opinion.
Of all time.
Yeah, of all times. And I did like him as a swordsman. I did like Val Kilmer in this role. I thought he was kind of funny. Along the way, you also meet a couple brownies, I think is what they were referred to as. One of them being played by none other than Kevin Pollak, which I thought he was hysterical in the role. I always wanted to get drunk and stuff like that, but interesting movie. Keep in mind, it is a 1988 film, so the special effects, not the greatest. Very claymation-esque type stuff going on in there. With a scene with dragons, you can definitely tell is, very bad. Nowhere near like today's CGI.
Not a Game of Thrones.
Yeah, not even close. Not even close. There's a troll that basically looks like the retarded cousin to the Planet of the Apes that's crawling all over a bridge.
Really, I kind of got the Return to Oz vibes from him, is what I was getting.
Yeah. It was very. That was one of the strangest things in the world, and all he did basically was scream. I was just like, okay. But it was. I liked the movie growing up. I still like the movie. Don't necessarily think it holds up like if you were going to tell somebody who's never seen it to watch it now. It's definitely not something I think they would keep on longer than maybe 2 minutes. What did you guys think about the movie?
Look, I'll tell you one thing that I would say that my wife has never watched it before, so she watched the trailer. She didn't make it through the trailer. So I would use that as an experience, for someone that hasn't watched it to really try to promote the movie to her. I explained it to her and went through the scenario. She's like, okay, Val Kilmer, Warwick Davis, she understands Warwick Davis from Harry Potter. And so trying to explain that to her. Okay, so I'll watch the trailer. She watched the trailer. She's like, yeah, no, that's stupid. So I don't know if the trailer was stupid to her or it just didn't explain the movie that well in the trailer, because that could have done it for her. But the movie is interesting. I can't say it's as entertaining as it once was, but I don't know if it's because I've seen it so many times that it's that typical good versus evil movie. And then, evil betrays, we're sorcerer. She portrays betrayed the evil queen, and then became the love interest for Mad Mardigan now. And then they were at the ending. It's a happy ending, typical happy ending where, they get the baby, they're going to raise it up, like their own as a queen. And Willow goes back and hey, Willow's back, and they're all happy. He sees his wife, and he's treated as a hero. So it's kind of that, Willow was very almost like a clown. Nobody took him seriously. He tried to be a sorcerer, but he wasn't. He couldn't get that apprenticeship. But by the end of the movie, he understood and gained all those values and became kind of that sorcerer he wanted to be. And so they built his character up from being, at the lowest of low to being the hero. You know what I mean? So I like that part of the movie, but it's very typical,
Yeah.
stereotypical type movie. And what I did like is the fact that with this movie, it was one of the biggest casting calls for dwarfs or little
Yes.
people
Yeah.
at that time. And I can't say I find that hard to believe because they had a whole village of them. But there's been a couple movies that are interesting that where the dwarfs in the 80s, they portray a main character. Like Time Bandits, if anybody's ever seen Time Bandits back in the early 80s. Another movie where dwarfs play a main character, and Under the Rainbow. So Under the Rainbow is one. If you haven't watched it, try to find it on any of the streaming services. But Under the Rainbow is also a similar movie to where the dwarfs play a main character in the movie. And I think that kind of portrayed them. So I think that's why this movie was very popular back in the 80s, because a lot of people didn't understand dwarfism back then. And now we understand that they do everything we can do, but it was different. And I think that's why this movie was cool back in the 80s. But interesting now, hard to get through, but storyline's there. It's a good storyline. That's why I feel like it.
I actually partially enjoyed this movie. I'm not one to get into a lot of fantasy movies, this definitely enters the realm of fantasy with wizards, and it was like a Lord of the Rings almost type deal, like the baby is the ring. But
Take that back.
You play Magic the Gathering, Kevin. Jesus.
No, I did not. I'm not one to get into a whole lot of. I'm not one to get into a whole lot of fantasy movies, but I enjoyed this. I don't know if it was the casting or if I took it as knowing I'm going into an '80s movie. I guess I don't know. I enjoyed for what they were limited with the cinematography and the special effects and everything. I think it came together pretty well. I did enjoy Val Kilmer's role as Mad whatever his name is.
Mad Mardigan.
Mad
Mad
Mardigan.
Max. Don't say Mad Max.
I know it's not Mad Max. Mardigan is such a freaking hard word for me to remember.
Very
Mad Mardigan.
medieval. The medieval name. Mardigan.
There was some plot points, why that never got explained, like why was he in the freaking birdcage type deal at the crossroads? That never got explained. And furthermore, if somebody's in there, why would you hand them a baby? I never
Well, they didn't know better.
But, okay, we'll go with that. It was slow throughout the middle. But it picked up towards the end with the fight scene, of course, the big fight at the castle. But I'm gonna hold off on giving my full rating at the end. But for taking it for what it was, I enjoyed it. I'm gonna put it.
I mean, I still enjoyed it. Like I said, I think it would be harder for someone who's never seen the movie to try and go into it like Kim Mike's wife would have. And I did watch the trailer before I watched the movie this week, and the trailer does not do this movie any justice whatsoever. It is horrible.
I think that's what
the movie.
Yeah, the trailer was horrible back then.
But I do have a few trivia kind of stuff here. So what was kind of shocking to me is that Warwick Davis, first off, was only 17 years old when filming started on the movie.
Oh, really? That I
Yeah.
did not know. He looked like
Yeah.
a 40-year-old man.
Yeah, I know.
He looks the same now as he did back then.
I know. And
He ages well.
and the role for Willow was actually written specifically for him by George Lucas after meeting him on the set of Return of the Jedi.
Speaking of this, it was George Lucas did write this. Did anybody pick up that the brownies to me seemed like a whole lot of Jar Jar Binks? I mean, being the comic relief, that they had a lot of Jar Jar humor.
They did have a lot
very Ewok. It had a very Ewok. Picturesque type.
Which the brownies,
character.
for me, for being the comic relief, made the movie. Like, I love the brownies in this movie. They were freaking hilarious. Which Jar Jar was the best part of Star Wars. So I get it.
So according to Warwick Davis, the film had the largest ever casting call for Little People at the time. Between 225 and 240 actors were hired for the film. So like Mikey said before, now the box office receipts were less than expected for the movie. So George Lucas actually continued Willow's story in books rather than movie sequels. There's 3 books that are collectively known as the Chronicles of the Shadow War that are all about this. So there are hounds in the movie that are trying to find the baby at the beginning that look like giant rats, in my opinion, but they're called devil dogs, and the devil dogs were actually Rottweilers in rubber masks and suits.
So they were Rottweilers. Okay.
Yeah, so they were Rottweilers. Let's see here. So in preparation for the movie, Warwick Davis had to learn a modified accent, how to take care of a baby, how to ride a horse, how to sword fight, and how to perform magic just for this role.
Awesome. Mikey, how did you like Warwick Davis's accent in this
annoying
movie?
as hell. Absolutely annoying. So I love Warwick Davis as an actor. The problem was in this one, I think it's because he was so young in this movie. Yeah. He yelled a lot. He got very loud with Mad Mardigan, and that high pitched, squillish type, that whiny type accent. Not the accent itself, the whiny type voice with his accent was annoying at sometimes throughout the movie. Like, that's all I could hear. It's like, Mad Mardigan. That was very loud.
You gotta stop, Mad Mardigan. Stop.
Yeah. So annoying at sometimes.
Apparently, they are making a TV show.
Yes.
It's supposed to come out in 2022, which Warwick Davis will be in as well.
Yep. As like a sequel for Willow.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
Though?
It depends on how they do it. If they're going to try and do it so that it opens up Willow to a new fan base so that you're kind of just starting off with it, or if it's going to be like more of a rebooting.
Yeah.
You know, as opposed to just a sequel.
Is it going to be him 30 years later? Like a sequel?
That
have
we
we heard that? Was he playing the same character?
I don't know. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I believe he'll be playing the same character. I actually heard that Val Kilmer would like to come back as well, but I don't think that they will be able to. Yeah.
In his health condition, probably not.
Yeah.
Well, he couldn't talk anyways. I mean,
right.
They would probably have to come up with something with him being wounded or something and just being there.
Yeah.
You know, what's funny about Mad Mardigan, the role of it, John Cusack tested for that role.
Wow.
And lost it to Val Kilmer, and apparently John Cusack considers this one of his biggest disappointments, was losing that role. Val Kilmer apparently ad-libbed a lot of his dialogue in the movie, which I could kind of see that.
Yeah.
So there's a scene in the movie where they first go to storm the castle at the end, and the evil sorceress turns 99.9% of the good guys into pigs.
Yes.
Well, according to this, the large group of pigs outside the castle continuously tried mating, and buckets of cold water were used to separate them.
So there's a lot of oinking going on.
Yes, apparently so. Let's see. So apparently Val Kilmer
That's a
had
lot
first.
of fucking pigs.
So Val Kilmer had first billing instead of Warwick Davis. George Lucas felt that wasn't fair since Davis plays the title role and has the most screen time. But I guess because Val Kilmer was, much more known at that point. This was the first feature film to use the morphing process developed by the Industrial Light and Magic team.
Okay.
That's when he turned the bird into the bird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Val Kilmer and Joanne Whaley, they were actually married, and this is the movie that they met on.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
Did not know that.
Yeah, they have, I think it's a son together. I don't know they have, I think it's just a son. They may have
Could it be a daughter? Laura Dannon?
That would be funny. They are divorced now, but the last thing I saw Joanne Whaley in was Marvel's Daredevil on Netflix. She played the nun who ended up being his mother.
Oh, okay. I think the last thing I saw her in was Willow, because I just watched it not too long ago.
What a dick.
Yeah. And on that, we're no longer allowing the Dirty Geek to be on these. Please stay tuned as we find his replacement. So let's see. Apparently, Warwick Davis's future father-in-law, Peter Burrows, and his wife, Samantha Davis, appear as villagers in the village that Willow's from in the movie. For the movie, apparently, Warwick Davis wore a wig for the movie. The long hair is not his own.
Oh, that's interesting.
I didn't know that. It looks like it was a good job on makeup.
Yeah, I know, right? Let's see.
Waiting on you.
I'm looking.
You.
I'm looking.
Come on, Brian.
Man, there's like
saying.
9 million facts on this movie. Okay.
Well, that's enough facts. You listed enough. Yeah.
The top 5 is good.
I mean, yeah. Stop digging for the bottom of the barrel on facts, homie.
I'm just trying to see if there's anything cool on it.
Whoever that is in the background that I keep hearing, can you just tell them to be quiet? I don't know if that's from.
I don't know. Shut the hell up. That could be us. I don't know.
Well, honeymoon's over.
Yeah. All right. So
Somebody's on the couch.
Mikey the Freak. Do you want to give your rating on this movie?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So based on this movie, like I said before, it's hard for me to get through. I did like the characters. It is a typical good versus, like I said, typical good versus evil, happy ending. I'm still gonna have to go with a 4 out of 10. And the whole reason why I say 4 out of 10 and give it such a low rating, it's because it would be very difficult for somebody to start watching the movie now that's never seen it and find it somewhat entertaining and interesting. If like you said too, if you're not into the mythical, the sorcery, like the magical type stuff, you're not gonna like this movie at all.
Okay.
There are some corny parts where they're very cheesy type. Mostly the two sorcerers fighting towards the end in the castle.
Yeah.
Yeah, very corny type and cheesy graphics. But so yeah, not very entertaining for me. So I'm going with the 4 out of 10 just because of that.
All right. I will give this a 6.5. I believe it's slightly above average. It does have a good. It does go along pretty well. I enjoyed it. I didn't find myself wanting to change the channel or in my phone, but it's not something I'd go back to watch on a hey, I want to watch Willow type deal. It's not something that I'd probably ever go back to.
Yeah.
Again, this may be my last time watching the movie, as a matter of fact. But I will give this a 6.5. Yeah, I give it a 6.5. I enjoyed everything. It honestly, it made it better for me after I watched this. I watched another movie that came out around the same time frame, and the cinematography and everything seemed very similar. So it kind of was like, yeah, that's just that style of movie in that time era. So I'm going to give it a 6.5. Even it with their limited graphics that they had, it wasn't like horrible. So I'll give it 6.5, slightly above average. Bebo, what will you give this movie? What is your thoughts?
I'm probably gonna go ahead and give it a 7 for myself, and that's a lot of that for me is just purely nostalgic. I'm not gonna lie. It was one of my go-to movies at that time frame when I was a kid. I still really enjoy watching the movie. It is something that I could watch at any time myself, just because I did like it so much growing up. Not gonna lie, it is my favorite Val Kilmer movie of all the ones out there. Yeah,
That's
sorry.
hard.
It's either
That's
that or
very
Real
hard.
Genius. It's that or Real Genius, which are
Real
not
Genius.
two as
Real genius.
yeah, but to me,
Top Gun.
you can tell by that answer he's not a Val Kilmer fan.
So typical.
No, I take that back. You know what? Tombstone.
Same as Batman.
Tombstone. No, Tombstone.
Yeah, nice recovery.
Tombstone.
Nice recovery. Oh no, Tombstone. I forgot about Tombstone.
I did.
Oh shit, that's right. He was in that movie.
Yeah, he was in it. Yeah.
No,
I'm your
but
Huckleberry.
but I'd give it a 7 just because a lot of it's for nostalgic, but I do like the movie for its time period. I thought it was a good movie. It's kind of hard for people nowadays to get into it. It's not something I think that should be remade, so to speak. Like we said, I know that they're planning on doing like the series on Disney Plus, but it's not going to be out until sometime next year, supposedly. I'm hoping that if it is, it's a sequel and they do it right so that it kind of brings in a new audience.
Mm-hmm.
The CGI is definitely going to be better.
The cinematography and special effects are definitely going to be a lot better.
Yeah. But I just liked the movie. I thought it was fun. I liked the musical score on it. I liked the actors that were in it and stuff. And I lean towards these type of movies, more of the mythical type stuff. So that's why I would give it a 7 out of 10 for myself. It is something I would recommend to people, but I would have to know the person and know that they also like these type of movies for me to recommend it. It's not something I would just recommend to anyone. But that would be my rating.
Mm-hmm. All right, I agree.
Sure.
All right, so I do believe that covers Willow. Check us out. Upcoming, we will start reviewing Psych starting from season 1. We will be doing episode by episode. We have not set a date for that, but it is upcoming. So for Mikey the Freak and Bebo, I am saying keep it retro.
See ya.
See ya.